Today you'll see a tank for knit fabric. Initially when I saw it, I thought 100% I cannot make this. That only has one shoulder seam, but you don't have to be all exposed, you know, you can add a little strap, and the binding technique is amazing. I really love it. I have a top and a dress to share. Really easy sew. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have some knit garments to share. Initially when I saw it, I thought 100% I cannot make this, I cannot wear this. But then as I got to know the pattern a little more, I realized, yeah, there is an option that was going to work for everyone. Although the original design is marvelous, and this is a new pattern from Pattern Emporium called the one shoulder tank. It doesn't really have any other name other than that. It's very descriptive. There's basically one shoulder seam right here, one armhole, but then the neckline goes asymmetric and it stops under here and goes all the way around the back. This is a feature that when I saw the liner and the pattern, I thought, I can't wear that. I need to wear a proper bra. I've never been able to find a really good strapless bra. And even though I love the design, I have no issue with showing my shoulder. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I know that I don't have the proper undergarment that would be supportive enough for me to wear just this area normal without anything there. But there's a little something extra in the pattern that just changes the whole thing and made me super excited to sew it because I really like this asymmetry. I think it's really pretty. The tank has two different types of silhouettes. One is semi-fitted, hemmed normally. The other one is flared, and as an option you can sew on a hemband there. Lots of length options for both of these silhouettes. You know, you can have a semi-cropped, it's not fully cropped, one that's a regular length, and then there's another one that is classed as tall. It's just a little longer for taller people. And for the bands, you can put the band at the waist or hipster for the flared style. So there's quite a lot you can do to play with the length. You know, you're going to be able to do whatever you want right there. Now, the way to finish this neckline and this one armhole has two methods. One is a wide binding. I love that method. I've sewn it once before with a Carefree tee, also from Pattern Emporium. I haven't seen that technique with any other pattern brand, and I really like it. It's amazing. And then the other option is a little faster, and it's just a band. You know, like you'd sew a neckband, but you'd sew one on the armhole and on this neckline that's asymmetric. There are extra things that are optional. You can sew a flounce that will go all the way around the neckline and it goes enclosed within the binding or the band. That flounce can have a length or a longer length. And then as extras in the getting creative part, you can add on a shelf bra if you think that's enough support for you. I always say with a shelf bra, you have to be realistic about the type of support that you're going to get with a shelf bra. It's not a proper bra. So in my case, I wouldn't feel comfortable using a shelf bra unless you had like power net and bra cups and foam cups and all that kind of jazz in there. So I was never planning to add on a shelf bra there. I'd rather just use my regular bra. And the way that I'm going to be able to use my regular bra is because you can add on a strap right here. And in the instructions, you'll find the way how to make this. It's super easy, and you can make it as wide as you want. I figured out I wanted mine to be 1 1/4 inches in the width because that's going to cover any of the bras. Having that little strap there as part of the pattern, it's amazing. And it's something I could have hacked anyway. It's something I could have done on my own. But having it in the pattern, I think it's amazing because you get instructions, you get a little bit more support in that sense. If you really need to wear a bra and you just cannot live the strapless bra life, you know. I did have one when I was about 20 and I was a B cup. I remember wearing that and wearing strapless tops. But since then, you know, since having a C cup and over the years, I've just never been able to find one that makes me really comfortable. If I did, I would for sure make it without the strap. I would be happy. Because the one shoulder tank is a brand new pattern, it's 15% off through Monday noon, but in Australia, so it's Sunday night around in this hemisphere. And there are a lot of other patterns that are on sale as well. The patterns that will go with a tank, most of them are bottoms. I've made a whole bunch of them: the sporty lounge skirt, the vacation vibes palazzo, the knit palazzo, the getaway shorts. There's a lot of skirts there. There's a lot that is also on sale. So if I have videos already of the patterns on sale, I'll leave them linked down below. If you use my link to purchase, I do receive a small commission back. And that's one of the ways I make an income doing what I do here on YouTube. For the fabrics, you need knit fabrics. This will not work with a woven, and your knit fabrics really have to stretch in every single direction. So take it and stretch it horizontally and vertically. That's going to give you the proper fit. Rayon spandex, bamboo spandex, modal spandex, they will work. Just consider that those fabrics stretch a lot and they have less recovery than other fabrics. They usually have about 5 to 8% spandex. So the garment might end up looking longer. Your neckline, your armhole might end up looking a little lower than it would with other fabrics. So just consider that before you choose that fabric. I think it's super nice, super drapey, super soft, comfortable to wear, all those things. But consider that it might not look the same as it would with a cotton lycra, for example. Other fabrics you can use are double brush poly, single brush poly. Those are relatively easy to handle. Fabrics that would also work amazing are athletic knits. I love those. Swim fabric. I know some people have made this as a type of swim top to wear over like a bikini top out of swim fabric. I think that's really cool. I think if you use something really heavy like a knit crepe or a ponte or a scuba, the binding and all of this area could turn out really bulky. I think it would be hard to handle the binding with an ITY unless you have a lot of patience, because the edges usually curl up and yeah, it's a little more difficult to manage. But if you want to try one out, I think the drape would be amazing and it would be a really nice fresh top to wear. Be aware that it would be harder to handle the binding. And I made one of mine with a knit that looks like a woven broderie anglaise. I have used this type of knit that's embroidered in the past. I have quite a lot in many colors because I just love it so much. Nice amount of drape and stretch, super soft, easy to work with. And the other one I've chosen is an athletic knit, medium weight, pretty structured, really nice, easy to work with as well. The sizing comes from 4 to 30 Australian sizing, and that goes up to a 58 3/4 inch hip. At the bust, you're gonna have 0 ease. Around there, it's going to be nice and fitted up here, and it has to be because all this area has to be close to you, or else you're going to end up with necklines that gape and armholes that gape. So this area of the body is going to be nice and fitted to you. And then depends if you sew the semi-fitted silhouette, you're going to have maybe 1 inch of ease at the hips, about 4 at the waist, so it is semi-fitted as it says. And then the flared one's going to have a bit more space, maybe 5 or 6 inches of ease at the hips. If you do add the hemband though, you're going to have some negative ease, about 1 to 2 inches of negative ease. I've chosen to make both, one flared version and one semi-fitted version. I printed a size 18. I made no fitting adjustments whatsoever other than adding length. So let me show you my muslin. And in the case that it turned out wearable, I always knew it was going to be a top for the house because the piece of fabric I had was really little, and this one came out way shorter than what I'm comfortable wearing out. But it was enough for me to figure out the fit and everything around here and if the strap was going to work and all those things. This is a rayon spandex. It's a little heavier than other rayon spandex fabrics that I have. I've got the wide binding there, top stitch with a twin needle, and here is my wide strap. The flared version has the waisted version and then the hipster version because this is supposed to have a hemband, and I had to cut this one about 2 inches shorter than the hipster version because I just didn't have enough fabric. This is my wearable muslin. It's a rayon spandex. I will wear this only around the house because I had very little fabric and it's very short, so I'm not comfortable wearing something so short outside. But it'll be great for around the house, really comfortable, and it was a good practice run to see the fit. I'm going to make a flared one, and the only adjustment I made from the hipster line, which is the bottom line where you cut, I just added 3 inches, just kept the same angle on the side and just added the same, keeping the curve on the front and the back. Then I decided to make a semi-fitted silhouette, but extend it so that it's a dress, and I ended up needing to add 35 centimeters, about 14 inches around there. And so if I would have extended the line from the semi-fitted version following that angle, I would have ended up with an A-line skirt, and I wanted my skirt to be straight. So you have some notches there that show you where the waist is. I measured from that notch down about 20 centimeters, about 8 inches, because that's where my fullest part of the hip is from my waist down. I looked at that part of the pattern, and from there I just kept the line going straight down. That's how I got my dress to have a straight silhouette and not an A-lined one. Super easy hack. I mean, there's no hack at all. No difference to the sewing method. It's just longer seams on the side seams, that's all. For the sewing, I filmed it all for you. It's going to be really fun. You'll see how easy it is to put together. I whipped these up both today. It doesn't take you all day to sew. You don't use a lot of fabric, so ticking all the boxes for me. So let's see how to make the one shoulder tank with a strap though, because that's how I'm making mine. For everything to work out as per the instructions and so that you end up having your garment towards the side it's intended, which means that the strap of the garment will be on your left, you need to cut all your pattern pieces with the right side of the fabric up and the printing area of the pattern right sides up as well. And that's how everything's going to be correct, both for the main pieces and the binding pieces. Pretty side of the fabric facing up towards you, the pattern facing up with all the printing or the instruction on the pattern also. These are the pattern pieces for the one shoulder top. I'm making the flared version, that's why you can see the side seams go off to the side. There is another silhouette that is semi-fitted where the side seam would go straighter down, but the way you sew them is exactly the same. This is the back, this is the front, and if you notice, the hem on the back is straighter than the hem on the front. This curves a little lower at the center front to account for bust volume so that it looks even on the sides. I love that. And over here, I'm going to use the wide binding. This longer one will be for the neckline here, which is longer, and then the shorter one is going to be for one armhole. This extra piece that I have there is going to be for my strap. I'm going to add that extra to cover my bra strap because I just don't have a strapless bra. There are some details and notches here that I'm going to show you up closer. It's going to be really hard for you to get confused as to which is the back and which is the front piece. And that's because you have double notches marked on the back piece. So you can see that on this neckline, you have a double notch. And then on this armhole, you also have a double notch. So that really tells you that this is the back piece. So this is the front piece. You just have a single notch. I have a yellow dot right there. And on the armhole, you have a single notch right there. This is the shorter binding piece for the one armhole that this top has. And on one side here, you're going to have a double notch. You're going to have one here that's going to be for the shoulder. And a single notch is going to match the front armhole. That is super helpful and is going to help you align everything properly so the binding turns out correct. Over here, we have the longer binding piece that's for the neckline, and here we have a double notch that's going to match the back neckline. Here we have one that's going to match the shoulder seam, and here we have the single notch that's going to match the front neckline. The main seams are super easy and there's not many of them. Just take any, the front or the back, it doesn't really matter. Put one of these right sides up and take the other one and put them right sides together. And what we're going to sew is this single shoulder seam up here and the side seams with the serger. This is a tiny shoulder seam, it's just one of them. And then we have two side seams, super easy. Getting this out of the way is just so fast and so easy. The top is designed to be sewn with a serger, so the seam allowance is only 1/4 inch. Be careful to not trim anything away while you're serging this. Now comes the binding, and we are actually going to use our sewing machine to sew that. What we have here are the wide binding pieces. This is longer, this is for the neckline, this is shorter, this is for the armhole. On one of the long ends, you're going to see notches. So on this edge, I left it raw because that's what's going to go sewn onto the garment. But on the other side, I did serge the edge because this binding is going to be folded to the inside. In essence, you could leave it raw. It's not going to fray, but I just like cleaning it up. I think it just looks neater, but that is totally optional. All we need to do now is sew these seams using 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then we can attach them to the armhole and the neckline. I'm going to work on the armhole because the technique is the same thing as you do with the neckline. It's just small line, it's going to be easier to see. Here we have our armhole. The garment is right sides out, side seams and the shoulder seam have been sewn. What we need to do is align the binding right sides together here. The seam that we just sewed on the binding is going to match the side seam. So make sure these match. Now this is a heavier athletic knit. I decided to serge my edges separately and sew the seam and press it open. But with the other garment I made that's a lighter knit, I just did it directly on the serger. You'll see the same thing up here. I just think it's less bulkier like this. Anyway, just align your seam of the binding to the side seam, and then when you look further, you're going to find the single notch, and that's going to match the single notch of the armhole right here. You're going to see that the binding is shorter. We're going to have to stretch the binding to match what's underneath, and then we have another notch up there that's going to match the shoulder seam that we have here. And then let's move this so we can see the back armhole. There's a double notch on the binding and a double notch on the armhole, and we just need to match these up. If you want, you can put a pin in between these. So I'm just gonna line everything up like this. Put a pin here, another one over here. So you stretch the binding slightly to match what's underneath, but not stretching the armhole as such. And then we're gonna sew this together with a basting stitch that's gonna be removed later. So I'm going to increase my stitch length to 4.5. I'm just going to use the presser foot as a guide and just keep it along the edge of the fabric here. And we do this on the sewing machine, slightly stretching the binding on top. Remember, this is temporary. This is going to come out afterwards. So we stretch the binding slightly to match the armhole. Now I'm going to change my stitch to a shallow zigzag that will allow stretch. And now we're going to do the definite stitch of this binding, and this is the stitch that's going to give the binding its width. So it's 3/4 of an inch seam allowance from the edge this way. For me, it's guiding myself against this metal plate right there. I'm not going to go too fast, and I'm going to always be touching underneath that everything is smooth and that I don't get a pucker underneath. Okay, so there you can see that we have 2 rows. This is just a basting stitch, a straight stitch. It's going to come out. This is a definite stitch though, and that is at 3/4 of an inch from the edge. After sewing the binding, we need to press it, and I've turned the garment wrong sides out. I used a long stitch length to facilitate removing this, so it's just a matter of pulling a thread. And then I've turned it right sides out, and I want to give it a press from this side as well. It's going to make it easier to wrap the binding around huge seam allowance. Now you need to do one binding at a time because you won't have access here at the shoulder seam. It's really narrow. Do both bindings at the same time. Okay, so having the garment wrong sides out, what we're going to do is we're going to take this binding and wrap it around this big seam allowance, and that's what gives the binding its width. That's what gives it the wide look from the right side. And the binding is calculated to be a little wider than this area, so that if I want to sew this on the edge right here, I am still going to be catching a nice little amount of binding on this side. So we just have to go all the way around. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin it all the way around, take my time, and then I'm going to give it a quick hand baste so I can get rid of those pins, because we are going to be top stitching this down from the right side of the garment. So I really don't want this binding that's going to be at the back to move and wiggle around. So basically that's it. I'm just going to continue pinning. Here I'm finishing hand basting down this binding towards the inside of the armhole. This is how the binding is going to look on the outside. I've been hand basting with a green thread that you can see there, and that's catching this side of the binding over here. It's a little longer, so it will cover that seam that we've just done. And at this point, you know, having that hand basted there, I have access and I can go ahead and attach the binding onto the neckline. And it's exactly the same thing. We have a side seam, and that's going to match this seam that we've just done over here. And then we just need to match the front neckline, the back neckline, and the shoulder. So it's the same thing. Once I've got the binding on the same way I did this one, and everything flipped in here and basted, then I can switch and put my twin needle on the machine and go ahead and top stitch both of them. You could use a zigzag to top stitch this down, but I don't like the look of that. I don't think that looks very nice in my opinion, so I just prefer the twin needle. With the twin needle, you get a type of zigzag on the back with the bobbin thread, and that is a stitch that's going to give. You're going to be able to stretch. The hand basting helps keep the binding that's folded to the other side in its place without moving, so I really enjoy doing that, making sure everything's going to turn out neat. Here you can see the twin needle stitch there holding that binding in place. It looks like a fake cover stitch. If you do have a cover stitch, then do that. I did serge that edge before because I like it to be neat. When you fold that inside, you saw that I made sure that I was going to be catching everything, so you have a bit of excess here, just a little bit. I've taken out some of the basting stitch so you can see it, and you can see that it'll be fine, the stitches won't pop, and it looks really neat. I already have my hem turned up and hand basted as well, so I can do that with a twin needle. So finishing it up will be super easy, and then I'll do the strap. This is my rectangle for the strap, and you can actually make it the size that you want it to be. So if you want your finished strap to be 1 inch, for example, you would cut this 4 inches. I want mine to be 1 1/4 inches. So 1 1/4 inches times 4 equals 5 inches across here. And then the length, that is anywhere from 16, 17, 18 inches. You'll be okay. You have excess to cut away. It's just better to have a longer one. And I'm going to end up with a finished width of 1 1/4 inches for my strap. That's going to cover all of my bras. All you have to do is fold it lengthwise like this, wrong sides together, give it a good press, and then I'm just going to fold these into the center right there, and then the other one here. And then we we fold this again. We're basically going to have 4 layers to this strap. It's going to make it really stable. So that's how it looks. I'm going to top stitch and that will close up this opening. And I'm also going to top stitch on the other side just to keep it balanced. That's all. It's that easy. To figure out our reference as to where to place it on the back, I'm going to put my top right sides out with the front on the top, and I'm just going to fold it in half like this, and then I'm going to take this one and fold it in half again. So right here is where I'm going to put a pin. Where I put the pin is actually on the back, and I'm going to take my strap and just place it around where that pin is, sort of centered. So this could work there, but you still need to try it on and maybe tweak it a little bit. Here I've just put it on quickly, and I can see that I need to move the back strap towards my armpit area by maybe 1/2 inch to be able to cover the bra. So the reference I showed you by folding the top is just a reference. Front is easy. I can just adjust it to make sure it's going to cover my strap where it's usually gonna go when I wear this specific bra. I've fiddled with the position and I'm happy. What I'm gonna do is just trim out the excess of the strap and just leave a little bit extra and serge that edge before I top stitch this. Here is one strap pinned. That's how it looks like on the other side. There's a little bit left over and I did serge that. And I'm just gonna use the same twin needle I had been using to top stitch, and I'm just gonna sew right on top of that seam I had already done. And then I'm gonna do one on the edge, and that's how I'm gonna hold it in place. So that's nice and sturdy, top stitching there and there. It's going to hold it in place, and you just repeat the same on this other side. Now I have to mention, when you saw me sewing on the white binding, you know that I did that first row with a basting stitch with my sewing machine, something that you can remove, and that's appropriate if your fabric has a bit more substance. You'll be fine like that. But in the instructions you'll find suggestion if your fabric is really floppy, like rayon spandex or ITY or something like that. Instead of doing that first row, you can serge it together and just leave it there, and it will make that area more stable when you're trying to flip over the binding. So that is something to consider. That would just work with really floppy, lightweight fabric. Otherwise, use a technique that you saw here with a basting stitch that you removed and you'll be okay. I had to make it black because black is going to go with everything, and I think this is super striking, the design. I really want to wear it a lot and it will go over a lot of things. So this is my strap right here. This is my shoulder seam. You know, this is not reversible, like I can't wear it the other way. Remember, the front and the back piece are different. The hem shape is different. At the front you're going to have a slightly longer curved hem that will account for the bust volume so that your hem looks even. I love that. Hem at the back is a little straighter. So if I put this the other way around, it's not going to look right. So I remember I sewed a little bit of a white thread there, so that tells me that that is the back of the top, so I don't forget. Other than sewing the binding, because that is what takes a little bit longer, all the other seams were just so simple. Tiny shoulder seams, side seams, do the binding, do the hem, and you're done. So nice. So I had a lot of fun styling this. You'll see it on with my getaway short, with my sporty lounge skirt. They're both burgundy. I've also styled it with my vacation vibes palazzo pants in woven tropical rayon print. This is my one shoulder tag from Pattern Emporium. This is the flared option, and I lengthened it by 3 inches just because I'm a little taller. I've got it paired with my sporty lounge skirt and also my getaway shorts. They're sort of in the same color. I do have an extra strap there on one of the sides. You'll see the fabric up close. I love how drapey this fabric is, which I think is essential to make the flared version without the hemband. You can see that the fabric has some texture. It's a knit, it's embroidered. It looks like a woven broderie anglaise, but it's not. It's a knit and it's super comfortable, and I really love this type of fabric because it's got that beautiful texture. I love this flared silhouette. It's just comfy, easy to wear, and I love this neckline so much. I chose to put the strap there because I just don't have a good strapless bra, so this allows me to wear this style with my regular bra underneath, and that's awesome. Of course, you can also leave the strap off and just wear it completely off the shoulder. I really love the wide binding technique, which is one of the options. You can also sew bands instead if you want to, but I really love this technique, and I love the coverage. I feel pretty well covered. I love the asymmetry here. I think it's a really edgy look, and I made it in black so it can go over a lot of my garments. I know I'm going to be wearing this one a lot. Here is the same one shoulder tank in black, but this time with my rayon vacation vibes palazzo pants woven. Super flowy pants. This is a great outfit for summer, super fresh. And I think the silhouette of this one, even though it's flared, it still works well with a wide leg pant like this. So you might get a little bit dizzy with my fabric. This is an athletic knit I've had for a pretty long while. I always knew it was going to be some type of dress, pretty structured, easy to work with. That's why I wanted this dress to have this fitted silhouette with a straight skirt rather than extending the flared version, because then this would stand away from my body. I didn't want a swing style dress, which is what you would get if you extended the flared version longer, keeping that same angle, you know? So this is it. It's a little bit dizzy. It's not zebra. It's just really, really crazy. Black and white. I really love it. The binding was a delight to work with. In this fabric was amazing. I think these straps allows me to wear this style like this, and it just looks so edgy. It looks so great. I love the coverage under here. I'm not showing anything. And then at the end, when I was trying it on, I brought it in a little bit at the waist. So I marked with a pin where my waist was, brought it in by 3/8, and then tapered back out to the hip. That was something I did at the end. Now, when you see this on, you'll see it's a little longer than the dresses I usually wear. I usually like mine like fully above the knee, maybe an inch above my knee. But because I'm more uncovered over here on the top, I thought, let's make this dress just above the knee. Just a little bit longer, just to look a little bit more balanced, you know? This is the one shoulder tank with the fitted silhouette version. I just extended it by about 14-15 inches so it hits right above my knee. I just kept the line going straight down from the fullest part of my hip, and I think it's a great dress that you can make. Really easy hack, just lengthening the pieces. This is a really crazy athletic knit. Nice and structured, easy to work with, and perfect for this more fitted silhouette. I just brought it in at the waist a little bit. I still have nice amount of room at the waist. I could improve the back shaping there, but I don't have a center back seam to work with. The fit on the top is the same. You have one armhole, and then on the other side you have a strap that's covering that bra. I'm really happy I extended the tank. I knew I wanted a dress with this special neckline. The binding you can see up close. It's super easy to do. You can see how to do it on my channel. I really like that technique. I think it looks really professional, and it's nice and sturdy. I think it's a good one. I made a straight size 18, no pattern modifications at all other than lengthening. I really love this. I think it's an amazing dress. Now if I want to cover up, I have my linen songbird that I made this summer, and I think this is great. You know, when you just want something on top where there's freezing air conditioning or just want a layer, I think this is great because a black and white dress will go with any solid color. This is definitely an outfit I would wear out. You can see I paired it with my songbird as a way to layer on top, which is how I would wear it. Typically, I would wear something on top, especially if I'm going to be somewhere with air conditioning. I can take it off, I can put it back on. I think black and white is going to go with any solid top. That songbird can be either a woven or a knit. I really like that pattern, and I really love that linen version I made this summer. Now, I think a lot of us have different comfort levels in what type of areas of our bodies we're comfortable with showing a little bit more skin. I'm sort of more geared towards being more covered up in general, but I have no issues with my arms being out, or my chest, my upper chest, my shoulders, my upper back. I'll never go out showing cleavage. That is like a huge no-no for me. My midriff, that is like private, but I'm happy to show my legs. I think the way that she's drafted it is going to give you enough cover to be comfortable. You know, I'm not showing anything. I have a strap covering my bra. It's covering nicely under here as well. So I'm really comfortable. I'm really happy. I love the design. I think it's super edgy, totally my style. I really enjoyed whipping them up. It's put me in such a great mood. Don't forget that the one shoulder tank and a whole lot of other bottoms patterns from Pattern Emporium are all 15% off through Monday midday at Australia, but around Sunday night around here. Find all the links, all the information below. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.